listen up, y'all. It's the queen of automation, Megan Donnelly, here to give you inspiration. Founders and business owners gather round. I'ma show you how to build systems that'll astound. Streamline your processes, no need for...
Hey everyone, welcome back to the Queen of Automation podcast. I am here with the co-founder of a community, a networking LinkedIn community near and dear to my heart, Brand Built. His name is Darren Mass, and we are going to get a little geeky and a little techy. We're going to talk about all things automation. We're going to talk about operations. We're going to talk about all the stuff that I love to talk about. But I really, really want him to introduce you to the Brand Built community because it has been such a game changer in my networking world. And so without further ado, I'm going to let him jump on and tell you all about himself and tell you about the Brand Built community. We're going to talk about work-life balance, all the things. We're going to talk about all the things. That's what we do best, right?
I guess that's my cue here. So I am Darren Matt. I am zooming in from New Jersey, beautiful New Jersey. I absolutely love it.
I know, I'm so jealous. Everybody in the Brand Built community gets to go and do hikes and lunches and chats with Darren. So I think I'm going to have to fly out one of these days to the coast.
You're always welcome.
What I really want to hear about is, so Darren has a pretty kick-ass background, if I do say so myself. And he's the reason I'm so excited to talk to him is because he is very techy. And let's talk about your kind of rise to fame, if you will. I mean, you have a massive communications company that you sold, and I would love to hear all about it. And I would love to hear how it even happened. Was it something that you're like, I want to get into telecommunications? Because I feel like nobody ever says that. But I mean, maybe you did. Maybe you were like, yeah, let's do this.
Well, so it started with humble beginnings. I was always the ADH kid that would take things apart. One of those things was a phone, and I was always interested by this thing with the dials that would circle back. And I don't know, I just kept that interest up. Then one day I was taking my SATs, which I failed. Yeah, I'm the guy that failed the SATs. And I had no direction in life. And my brother and mother suggested I go to community college. And one of the courses was telecommunications. And my brother phrased it exactly this way. He said, you like math, you like science, you like working with your hands, breaking things and putting them back together. And telecom's big, you'll make a lot of money. Okay. Why not?
Right.
So I went to community college, and then I loved it. The first 5 minutes in that telecommunications class where it was electronics focused, I just fell in love with it, and I had my aha epiphany, and I knew I was in the right place. I proceeded to take all my classes. I showed up on time, ahead of time. I did all my labs and projects. And that first semester at Nassau Community College on Long Island, I got a 4.0. I went from barely graduating high school to getting a 4.0 in my first semester. And I turned to my parents and I said, I am going to essentially apply to one of the 4 schools that has a telecom program. They said, I'm not going to get in, not with my past grades, not without qualifying. And I said, screw it, I'm doing it anyway. And I applied to Rochester Institute of Technology. Week or two later, that envelope, congratulations, welcome. And there I was. Transferred out, went to school, and I had to do some co-ops. And one of the co-ops was this company called Paytech Communications. That's where I got my start. The first day I was their knock tech engineering intern, I sent the CEO an email saying, can I have a few minutes of your time? I'm an aspiring CEO and your first new intern. I'd love to pick your brain. That was it. I knew what I wanted to do with my life. 8 years later, I was running all of in charge of all of the engineers for the Northeast for that same company. I had an epiphany one night. I woke up out of bed. I said, Mass Communications. That's such a great name for a telecom company. And it's my last name. That's gold. I'm running with that. And that was it. Then I started a company called Mass Communications. And 10 years to the very date that I wrote the business plan and had that entrepreneurial vision, we sold it. We sold it to an organization called Windstream Enterprises. They are a very large Fortune 500, at one point, Fortune 500 publicly traded. No longer. They had to delist and go through restructuring, but they acquired us. And that was awesome. I grew the company from 1.5 employees. I say 1.5 because, as all startup business owners know, You fake it till you make it. So I was the on-call person in the middle of the night if there was ever an outage or an issue. So I counted myself as 1.5 employees. Grew that to over 50, and we sold it. A lot of experience there, a lot of fun, a lot of excitement, a lot of bruises and lessons learned along the way.
Yeah, I mean, I always get fascinated when I hear your story because it's similar to mine in the sense that it was like you kind of stumbled into it. You know, I was diagnosed with ADHD when I was 16 years old. So
welcome to the family.
Like yeah, right. Like, so this is not like age onset or anything like, or, you know, like adult diagnosis. Like I knew, and it was like impossible to get through high school. I mean, high school was the worst.
Yeah.
And I ended up not graduating. Not very many people know this about me. So this is maybe a new story for my audience, but I know I've got it written in multiple different places. I actually didn't graduate. I went and got my GED right after that. Like after I realized, ooh, I really effed up. Like, because I had one class that I needed to pass, and I just refused. And I was so stubborn, and I wouldn't go back. I was like, I'm not going back for one class. And, you know, you get stubborn, you get pig-headed, and you get it in your head. And then I was like, well, that was not smart. And so I went and got my GED and kind of did the same thing you did. I was like, all right, well, now what? Like, now I've got this, now what do I do? And I went through, I had my daughter at a very young age. I had her when I was a 19-year-old mom. And I was like, okay, well, now I really need to like do this. Like there needs to be a plan in life. And I started building websites. I just started building them. And I got interested in technology. And then I met my mentor, and that took off. And it was kind of this crazy, like, oh, okay, this is what I'm going to do. And now I ended up here. I would love to hear about, as you're kind of going through, especially like that massive growth. What I always get really excited about, because I am a tech nerd, right? I love data and I love technology. I want to hear about the operations of this business, because growing a tech company, first of all, communications tech company, it's built on technology, right? So what were you guys using as far as like the operations for like running the everyday business? Was it just, were you like on a Salesforce CRM, or like what kind of, you were on Salesforce, weren't you?
Yeah. So when you grow a startup, you really have to use your resources. And we made a lot of startup mistakes that just about every startup owner, business owner, and entrepreneur makes. So we home grew what, I guess I can't even call it a CRM. It was just an Excel spreadsheet. And that was our ops list. That was all of our customer data. We used to call it the customer data spreadsheet, right? Real apropos there, challenging.
Yeah. Don't get on
it. It grew to the point where the file was so large that it would take 5 to 10 minutes to open up, depending on the computer. And then, you know, I had two great partners. One was a very operations-minded individual. He was focused on IT, knows IT inside and out. The other was a sales-minded / operations person. And here I am, the crazy visionary with ADHD, you know, chasing shiny things, right? But I have an engineering mind and a background, which kind of worked well. We complemented each other and we played on each other's strengths. So my partner, who was our CIO, he knew systems. So we eventually found the right system for our industry to work as our back office provisioning and our CRM. Well, we quickly outgrew that. We had thousands of customers. And that's where one day I turned to him, I say, Dave, we need a new CRM. Let's start looking. And he instantly said Salesforce. Now, my interpretation of Salesforce is it is way too big. It is way too enterprise. It is a beast, lots of cost, you know, whatever your budget is, double it. And I was right. But I had an epiphany, and I've always learned to trust my intuition and my visions in the middle of the night, that one day we're going to sell our company, and we're going to sell it to a company that's much bigger than us. Makes sense. And most likely they will use Salesforce as well. So that will be one less rebuttal when we're trying to sell the company. They won't have to worry about integrating. And you better believe it cost more than we planned it to cost. The budget, we blew the budget away, right? The implementation took longer. It was tough. It was a beast. But when we're selling the company, the last person to approve it was the CIO, and it was his final tie-breaking decision. And he gets on the call with us and he goes, listen, we don't need another integration right now. My team is already taxed. I can't be in favor of this. And then he just threw it out there. He goes, what do they even use for CRM? And the main guy on the other side, on the acquiring party, said, actually, they use Salesforce. And Bob, the CEO, goes, oh, all right, you got my vote. This is easy.
Yeah, right. Okay, you guys heard it here. I don't care if you are a 1-person, 2-person, 10-person, 50-person company. Get a CRM, put it in now, because even if you are starting small and you start with a CRM that is small, you start with Airtable, right? Okay, I'm just going to say this. Don't do what he did. Don't have customer data in an Excel spreadsheet living on some computer and or server. There are ways. Now, again, when he was doing this, there were not necessarily as many ways to do that, but now there are.
Well, hold on, Megan.
Affordable.
Megan, we were broke. We had to do whatever we could. Okay.
Exactly. Right. So there are relatively cheap ways of doing this now. Airtable is one of them. It's behind a firewall. If you get audited, you won't be screwed. But you could start with Airtable. You create your homegrown CRM. It's really easy. All you need is a name and an email and a phone number. I mean, that's all you need. Those 3 things are what you need to get started, right? I mean, it's just so easy. But when you start to grow, and if you're one of those people that wants to sell, or you just want to expand sustainably, the CRM, having a database of customer relationship is so important. Now, I'm assuming you guys took that a step farther. Obviously, so Salesforce back in the day was it still is. It's a beast. Do not take it on unless you are willing to pay for a development team, whether it be an outside, inside team. It doesn't matter. Don't take it on unless you have a development team. But back in the day, it was really horrible at marketing automation. So what did you staple gun to that to make that work? I mean, because all the customer data was there, but you still had to communicate with those customers.
Yeah. So anytime you do an uplift and overhaul your systems, it is very time consuming, very costly, and time is a cost as well. And it is always going to be over budget. So to step back to what you were saying before, if you have a business, do the right thing always. Don't take the shortcut. So we took the shortcut with the lesser quality CRM only because it was more affordable. But at no point in any of that dialogue did we doubt where we were going, our business, our mission, our plan. We knew we would keep growing, but we were being cheap.
Yeah.
And when we cheaped out, it cost us more in the long run. Yeah. Now, fast forward to when we were introduced to Salesforce. Salesforce people sometimes love to sell you how easy it is. You just plug it in and turn it on and poof. And that might be true, but if you want to do it the right way, you do need a developer. Developers are expensive. It's custom. The customer, you will get scope creep. When you get scope creep, that's more time, more cost. It is never as inexpensive as it seems. Yes, the per license, per user fee remains consistent, but it's that development that you really need to spend time and money on. Then you have the integration or the migration of your existing data to the new system. Well, records are going to get screwed up, so your people need to double check the record. You have to have a process around that, and that is more time. And for us in our organization, we had a full-time staffer to manage the development, and her job was to manage the development internally and externally with the developers. So I was paying a 6-figure salary on top of the 6 figures or more to develop it. Total implementation for that was way deep into the 6 figures. But again, the decision was made to remove one barrier from acquisition in my head, and that made it all worth it. So this is where I go back to choosing the right CRM. There's lots of CRMs. You could build your own using Airtable. Absolutely. You have Sugar, you have Zoho. There's the right CRM for you. You want to look for the thing that you're going to need in the future, especially if all costs are similar. You don't want to go too robust unless that is the barrier that could harm your exit. And I coach a lot of small business owners. whether they've been in business for 30 plus years or if they're new, the number one thing, the first thing I ask every business owner is, what's your exit strategy? Because nobody ever asks them that.
Yeah.
And then I catch them off guard always. I don't know. Maybe we'll sell the business. I don't know. I hate my kids, so I don't know. Right? I hear those questions, those answers all the time. The reality is, when you're forming your business plan, you must have an exit. No different than when you're in a crowded theater locating the exits. Because here's why, Megan, if I ask you to run a race right now, you and I, we're toe to toe, line, right on the line. Okay. Megan, you want to run a race with me?
Sure.
Okay. Ready? On your mark, get set, go. How are you running right now?
How am I running?
Yeah. Are you running a sprint? Are you running a marathon? Where are you running to?
I am running one foot in front of the other. I would say that it's a marathon.
Okay, great. I ran a sprint. I just beat you. My point being is, if you as a business owner don't understand or don't envision where your business is going to end up, or at least a vision of what the exit will look like, you have no idea what you're running towards.
Yeah.
And this comes into play when, we used to say being on brand. You want everything to be on brand. So for me, Salesforce was on brand with my exit strategy. And that's a question that every single business owner, whether you're a solopreneur or a wantrepreneur, you should ask yourself, where is this business going? And then every decision you make from there should be on brand for your exit, which means investing in the right solutions, the right products, the right tools, the right resources, the right people to get you to that exit, that finish line.
That's amazing. My favorite CRM right now is Go High Level. And it's because it's all in one. And I used to be so opposed to all in one systems, except that when you're a small to medium size, kind of in that, you're six figures, multi six figures, you're pushing 800K, you're pushing like to go into the 7-figure plus mark. It's a perfect system for sustainable growth because it gives you the feeling of this giant, robust CRM without being a Zoho, right? Like without being so overly complicated, but it gives you all of the basics that you need to set up your data correctly. Guys, I can't explain this enough. Clean data is huge. Clean your data. Even if you don't know how to do it, ask for help. Please, God, ask for help. But clean data is huge, and you put crap in, you're going to get crap out. Right. And that's why, I was the person that he was talking about. My last job before I decided to break off and just start my own business and do my own thing. I was the person, I was the 6-figure person that somebody was paying to then pay a multi 6-figure development company, run the projects and implement Salesforce. So like, it was not like it was kind of this job that, it was kind of a ridiculous job when you think about it. Like, here, I'm going to pay you 6 figures, and then I'm going to turn around and pay this agency a boatload of money that you're going to then manage and then try to. But to Darren's point, if your goal is to become a 100 million plus company and then sell, that's your exit plan. That is such a great thing for people to see when you are trying to sell, because your data is then clean. Well, your data should be clean if you're doing it correctly, to your point. But so when I think about Go High Level for these medium-sized businesses, that's exactly what I think of, because it's clean data, right? Like we're putting it in clean. And even if you want to upgrade to a more robust CRM at that point, you have clean data, you have clean customer data, you have clean workflows, you have a pipeline. It's got a sales pipeline and it's all custom. Right? It doesn't have to be. It can be simple. It can be custom.
Dirty data is responsible for every single mistake that an employee makes, right? It is responsible for the attrition of a client. It all comes down to dirty data. What does a client want the most when they reach out to you? They want you to know who the heck they are. And if your data isn't right and you're associating them with the wrong account, or in technology, you have the wrong, in my world, circuit IDs for the customer, you're wasting time troubleshooting something that doesn't exist. That's going to anger the customer. Then you get churn and attrition.
Yep, exactly. And then that's the worst, right? Because then you have to, yeah. Well, and even it goes so far as just knowing whether you sent them an email, like did they get the last email?
Yeah.
Like did they, did they get the last sales call? Like what tasks have we completed internally that they've received? Like what marketing, what attribution, yeah, the whole thing. It drives me crazy. So that's, I think, one of the reasons I have such an issue with ChatGPT, but we won't go down that rabbit hole. I mean, it's great and it's horrible and it's, we won't get into that. But so let's talk about, I mean, because obviously you took on this massive undertaking and you've done this, you've had a podcast, you have all of these other things where you're using all sorts of different tech, right? Like you're very comfortable with it. Would you say, because, and I know the answers, I selfishly already know this answer, but I'm going to ask it so the audience can hear it too. Would you say that it's helped you create a balance between personal and business so that you actually have a life, right? You're able to, so many people are afraid of technology and that fear is, drives them so far away from it. And like, this can help you. And then they turn around and complain about burnout and complain about that they're working 24/7. And I was like, why don't we automate some of this? We can help you get your life back. We talk about time being the only thing that you can't get back. We talked about this earlier today in our group chat. I want to unpack that for me because you have lived a very successful career from a work perspective, but you also have a bunch of kids just like I do and a beautiful wife and a beautiful home and you're doing it, right? Like you're living it and working it.
So systems should work for you, and it's not always the case. And yeah, anytime you implement any change, it's going to eat away some of that life. You have to time block. You have to make time for yourself. I don't really like the work-life balance moniker. It's just life. You either love what you do or you don't. You're either, right? So I am involved in my family's life. I'm working out of my home now, like so many other people, right? There is no work life. I'm literally here. My wife could walk in at any moment, and she has. My kids could run by. I don't even see them. They're just running by, right?
Yep.
So you do have to realize, and I love to coach on this too, none of your plans matter if it isn't balanced. Because we're only living one life. We only have one shot that I know of. And unless somehow I'm proven wrong, then whoops. So it needs to be fulfilled. Now, I will be the first one to admit my life isn't perfect. My life is not in balance. Yeah, I see my kids all the time, but I have 3 young daughters. That's not balance. That's anyone with 3 young daughters can understand. That's pain. Right? I work because I love this. I am dedicated to my community 24/7 and literally 24/7. As an entrepreneur, I wake up in the middle of the night, jot down ideas or respond to messages, or you can't not see me on LinkedIn because it's me. But I like doing that. I enjoy doing that. That gives me value. That gives me purpose. And the time of my life shortly after my exit, after I left the company that acquired us, I became very depressed. Right? ADHD, which you can clearly tell we all have, one of the symptoms is very heightened emotions. You get very happy and very depressed. It's almost bipolar in a way, and it registers similar. That's me. So imagine you've been working for 10 straight years in a very high stress, high pressure industry with high stress, high pressure scenarios, managing 50 plus people, managing 13,000 or so, right? That's a lot of purpose. To all of a sudden having money in the bank, great, but floating in a pool, doing nothing, picking up your kids every day is great. But when you're the dad at pickup and you're wearing sweatpants, you're scratching your head, and your wife says to you, you're getting stupid.
You should shower. Yeah.
Yeah. That's when you realize that, man, I'm actually in a rut. I'm depressed. And for me, someone who's been working since the age of 9 years old, I've had multiple businesses that all failed prior to my telecom business. I lost my way, and that started a very massive depression. So back to the balance of life, my balance, I have to lean more heavily on the business and work aspect than the life aspect. But the challenge is the person that I married needs more life aspect. So when I say the grass isn't always greener, it is not. So I have to purposely make that time, because when I'm out of balance on either direction, I'm not the sharpest. I'm not the best. I'm not the highest performer. And I think we can all relate to that. So
Yeah.
it's about balance, man. We got one shot at this. Enjoy the hell out of it, because if you're not, then find what you enjoy.
Exactly. I'm so glad to hear you say that. And I know you've heard me say this too, which is why we feel like we're kindred spirits, because we talk about this in the group a lot. We talk about it on LinkedIn a lot, as it's something that Darren and I always talk about. I don't believe in work-life balance either. So I always say this, there is no work and life. It's all life. Like you can't, you can't separate. Even if you leave the house to go to a job, that is still your life. You're taking time to commute. It's still life. So it's one of those things where you have to, and no one can choose it for you, right? Like you have to choose it yourself. You're choosing to figure out the balance in your working and lifing and all of that stuff. Same with me. For me, I spent so long in corporate living someone else's dream. I wasn't quite where you were. I was almost at the C-suite level. I was just under the C-suite level or executive suite level. And when I left, I never saw my kids. I had never made a sports game. I have 4 boys. He's got 3 girls. I never saw my kids. I missed every game. I just missed everything, because I was in that, I was that person that was always on call, right? So we went on vacation. I took my laptop with me. And so now it's one of those things where you have to choose. I choose to do what I do very similarly because I love it. I love working with technology. I love working with solopreneurs and entrepreneurs and small businesses. But now I pick and choose who I work with. I'm very choosy about the people I spend time with. I pick and choose what communities like Brand Built that I join, because I'm very picky and choosy. Like, okay, if I'm not spending time with my kids and I'm not doing something, who am I spending time with? Are they bettering my life? Are they making it harder? So it's not that work just goes away when you choose, a solopreneurship or an entrepreneurship or a small company. It's just different. You choose, like being able to choose how you spend your time. I don't work weekends. Well, what's a weekend? Whenever I want it to be, pretty much is what it is. And people are like, well, what does that mean? It means I pick and choose when I work. As long as my clients are happy and I get the shit done that needs to get done, I can take off Monday and Wednesday or Monday and Tuesday or Thursday and Sunday. Like, it doesn't matter. And I tell my team the same thing. I don't care when you work as long as the stuff is getting done. So it's one of those, and that is something that you can't do in a large corporation. At least not one that I've found that I've worked in. But
well, it depends. There are companies that are okay with that mentality. I can tell you in the traditional industries, no. If you're in finance, if you're in any service-based industry, you have to be available when the customer needs you to be available. So it doesn't always fly. But in the consultative role or, the 1099 worker, yeah, sometimes you do have that luxury. How many people now open up a laptop on a beach chair and that's their office? Kudos. Yep. That's an awesome life.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That's the life I want. I'm like waiting. I'm like, okay, 2 down. I got 2 to go.
Yeah, I was going to say, you have 4 boys. That's not happening.
It is just like, it is. They are on the go all the time. It's crazy. I just don't even know where to go from here. So I'm just going to, because this was such a great conversation. We unpacked a lot of stuff, but I want you to tell everybody about Brand Built, because like I said, Brand Built's awesome. And if any of you out there are listening and following along, you know who Darren is. If you're on LinkedIn, you definitely know who Darren is. You definitely know who I am. You know who Nat is. You know who these people are. And this community, you should 100% reach out to them and see if you're the right fit, because it's game changing what we talk about inside the group and what we learn. And you go, you go. I don't even know what else to say.
Sure. So Brand Built is our community. It is a company that Nat and I formed to focus our full-time efforts. And it's honestly my best work. It is where Nat and I take our best learning lessons and apply it in a networking setting. We are a peer-to-peer coaching community. We are all about accountability. We are about the business success, personal success, and life success of our members. And yes, we have a heavy focus on LinkedIn. Why LinkedIn? Because LinkedIn is the street that your prospects and your audience and your community walks along. It is up to you to dress up your windows and invite them in. And the best tool right now, you bet it, LinkedIn. So that's why we do focus on that. But we are truly about coaching as a community. We are about supporting our members. And as a company owner, we have to find success in our product. And our product is our coaching and our branding and our business support for our members. That's what we are. We show up every single day, all day. And that's what makes us different than every other community that you see out there. Every other community is a side hustle. It is somebody's second hobby. We are full-time as a company. And we took the best practices of all the networking groups we've ever been to, applied it with the school platform, and now we have this thriving off LinkedIn discussion board where it is safe to just be yourself and find people that will uplift you, hold you accountable, laugh with you, cry with you, and want to meet you at the end of the day.
Brand Built, if you are a business owner, whether it be small, medium, big, otherwise, because we don't necessarily, at least from what I've seen, they don't discriminate. It's more about the person than it is your bottom line, right? And we have such amazing open discussions about everything, not just LinkedIn, but a lot of it is focused on LinkedIn and how to really use LinkedIn as a resource to grow your business. But we talk about everything. I mean, there are so many different varieties of people, even though the fintech people are taking over right now. We talk about there's such a variety of people and businesses and brands inside this group where if you have a question, no matter what part of your business, you could ask in this group and you're going to get an answer. And you're going to get an answer from multiple people. So it's not like you're going to get one answer. And then you're going to get an answer from Darren and Nat. They're going to come in and they're going to put their professional stamp on it. So you're getting the two owners, the two gurus, the two people that have started this community that have both successfully grown multi-million-dollar businesses 2-3 times over, and their opinions. And then you're getting the opinions of all of these other business owners, some that are going through the same stages that you are, some that are above you, some that are below you. It's just such a great way to network and meet people. I've grown my business. I've had almost every single person, not every person, but I've had a lot of the people on the podcast, and I'll probably have more so they can talk about their businesses because I'm so amazed and lucky to have met these people and have their experience and be able to talk with them on a daily basis. We have meme wars. That's the best. That's the best part of it. Just kidding. But it is really fun. But you have to reach out to Darren and Nat because it is just a game changer community. If you're looking to grow your business, especially if you're looking to grow your business on LinkedIn, but otherwise just chat with them because it is like no other networking community that I've ever joined. In fact, I am no longer part of any other networking communities because I felt like they were a waste of time. And this does not feel like a waste of time. This actually feels beneficial. I'm having conversations that are worthwhile and I'm meeting people that are actually making my business better. So, I mean, what more do you need, right?
I love that because that's the prize for me. That's the reward, right? It is all about helping people as best as possible. And Nat and I invited him on my podcast. I took a hike and I wanted to hike with him to learn his story because I saw him every moment of every day on LinkedIn. And I wanted to be like that guy. So I figured, hey, let me invite him on my hike, right? It's a good strategy, right? Networking at its finest. And along the hike, I turned to him. I said, we're going to do something one day. And we kept meeting. We didn't know what it was, but our biggest frustration is the fact there's only so much time to help one-on-one clients in a week. And that gets frustrating because at my peak, I had 19 clients. That's 19 hours of conversation plus 19 things or aspects that needed follow-up or research. That's a
Yeah.
full-time schedule.
Exactly.
So
It really
it
is.
clicked when we found this school community, the classroom, the calendar, the thriving discussion board option, the back office strategy just from having that platform. That's when it clicked and it dawned on us that, wait a minute, instead of one-on-one coaching, let's do this in a group peer-to-peer coaching session. And the magic just happened. Now currently at 130 members and growing. We're adding on 10 members a week, but we're very selective as well. We want people that show up. I do not need to collect your membership fee if you're not going to show up. The value is in showing up. And then Megan can answer a question on CRM or automation for another member. I don't know that as well as Megan. So if Megan doesn't show up, then I don't have value from Megan. And that's why we're selective with our members. We want people that are willing to be of service and support other members just as much as we want to support you. And that's where the magic of a real community comes to fruition.
It's so great being able to talk and help people and have them be genuinely happy and genuinely like thankful that they've had a conversation with you, because it's LinkedIn, right? Like you have to, what do you always say? LinkedIn famous is?
LinkedIn famous is not famous. Although I will say, for the little bit of ego, just about once a day, somebody will stop me in my town. Or I went to a boxing class yesterday, and a guy comes over to me, all smiles. He's like, "Hey, I read your post on LinkedIn." That does feel good, I will say.
That's gotta be cool. I'm not quite that cool yet, but okay.
It feels cool because what it is validation for all of the hours, 4+ hours a day that I put into it. But when I say 4+ hours a day, I always get the really on social media. It's the wrong way to look at it. I used to spend 8 hours a day in Salesforce. I now spend 0 minutes a day on Salesforce. So if you think about it, my leads, my prospects, right? My CRM is LinkedIn. So forget about the social media aspect. LinkedIn to me is a shopping mall, right? You're walking by. I need to attract you. And how do you do that? It's outreach. I look at it as I'm, that Lush store that always smells and has the soaps and everything. I'm the person outside with the bowl of water and some soap
Like
telling you to wash your hands, right? That's what you need to do on LinkedIn if you want to attract your ICP, which is the trending cool word these days, or initialism. But that's how you attract your prospects and your customers and your audience. You have to reach them. You have to comment. You have to be part of the conversation, and you have to reach out to them in the DMs. This is the new way to cold call because nobody's picking up their phone anymore.
Yeah. I would say like it's so crazy to me because I come from I got really lucky when I left. I had all of these because I left at the level I did, and I had made all of these partnerships and friendships and networking people. They all wanted to work with me. They're like, "Well, where are you going? You can't leave." Like, "Where are you going? Well, you can't leave." And I was like, "Well, I'm just going to do my own thing." They're like, "Okay, we're going to hire you." And I was like, "I don't even have a company yet. I don't even have a name." I was like, "Wait, 5 minutes. Like, you got to give me a second." And so I got really lucky. Like, I fell into it, and it was all referral based because these were CTOs and CMOs. Like, these were these executive suite people that had worked with me for 10 plus years. And so they were just like, "Oh, well, Megan's got her own thing here. Here's her number." And then, so I was like, "Oh, this is great." Well, because it's very much project based, when that slows down, I'm like, "Oh, well, I don't have a sales team. I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know how to sell." And so starting doing this on LinkedIn has been great for me because I am not a salesperson. Well, other people will tell me I am, but it's because I'm not selling, I'm storytelling. I'm telling people stories, and I'm just being me and, being my brand. And you're able to do that on LinkedIn. You're able to do that everywhere, but more so on LinkedIn. And like you said, so like I can reach out to people and it's not weird. I can just say, "Hey, that post was awesome. Thanks for the info." And then just sign my name, and I can go away, and then I can come back a few minutes later. We can have these conversations that you would never have before unless you were actually at a live networking event. I mean, it's a networking event with 2 point whatever billion people.
I'm happy that you brought it up this way, because the way to sell is to build trust. And the way you build trust is to educate and learn and share relatable situations, scenarios, and stories, right? LinkedIn has made it so everybody can be in sales without the moniker of being in sales. And it really comes down to applying yourself and being of service. People buy people, people buy based on trust. So if you want to attract your audience, you have to put yourself out there. Everybody's in sales now. That's what the whole personal brand rage is about.
People don't want something to buy. They want something to buy into. That's what I usually say. Because they don't need, like, you don't need another system. You don't need another automation. You need somebody who gives a shit about the system and the automation and why it's going to help you get time back, or you do this.
They're hiring you because they want you to solve a problem that they have. And the way to get to that individual is to get yourself out there with great content. And if you're not willing to write great content, that's totally fine. You could still be very successful on LinkedIn. Just show up in the comments of someone with great content.
Exactly.
And then follow up with the messaging strategy, right? If you were to email me today, I'm probably ignoring your email. Why? Because I don't even keep email open anymore. But if you DM me in LinkedIn, I'm there. If you DM me on Brandbuilt, I'm there. So you have to go where your customer is. And with over 1 billion potential customers on LinkedIn, go to the DMs. People are spending at least an hour or more on each social media platform every day. And when you're working, the one thing that your CIO or your IT team did not block, you bet, LinkedIn.
Absolutely. That last tech company I was talking about earlier, as I was building out all that Salesforce stuff for setting that all up, you know what I did? I trained their sales team of 10 people how to use LinkedIn for prospecting. Like, this is if you're not here, you're in the wrong place. Like, you need to do this. If you have a business, even local businesses, I won't go too much into it because there's some, and Darren, you're going to hear about it sooner than later. But I have a little bit of surprise because we're going to be doing a lot more with local businesses. So if you're a local business and you're listening, I've got some fun stuff coming, because you can use LinkedIn also. You can use LinkedIn. I promise you. I have a lot of friends who own brick and mortar local service-based businesses, chiropractors, hair salons. I swear to you, LinkedIn can work for you. It's a little bit different. It's not the same. Like, Darren and I can go out and talk about technology or groups or how to grow on LinkedIn, and then we'll get a bunch more people. It is different. It is going to take a little bit more time, but I promise you it will work for you in the same way. That's what we're working on right now.
So, Megan, if you would allow me to develop this, I get asked this all the time. Is LinkedIn B2B, B2C, D2C? It won't work if it's B2B.
It's everything.
I say that's all BS. Okay. That chiropractor who has a brick and mortar store looking for clients, guess what LinkedIn has? 1 billion people that all have backs and spines.
No, you know what they have? They have 1 billion CEOs that sit at a desk all day whose back hurts. And they have, I'll tell you right now, in Madison, Wisconsin, in the Midwest where I am, there's, 562 or something like that, like a number of CEOs and C-suite people that we're going after for a local chiropractor that I work with, because he's like, why are we wasting time on LinkedIn? Do you realize he gets 5 to 10 new clients a month from his LinkedIn stuff? Because he's targeting, like, exercises. Right now I'm using a standing desk, right? Like, he's targeting things you can do in your office. Walk around he's targeting these people. He's talking to them. He is telling them and meeting them, like Darren just said, meeting them in their office, right? Now, he knows he ran a company as a CEO, as you know, like, they're busy. They are not on LinkedIn, but their employees are.
You nailed it right there. It's every business needs to insist that their employees are on LinkedIn. Because here's the thing, and dare I say it, websites don't have the same value as they used to have. We are instantaneous gratification people, right? The first thing someone does when they meet you is they're nosy. They Google you. Guess what happens in that Google search? You better believe your LinkedIn comes up. You better believe it's like number one, number two, number three of every single person if you have a LinkedIn, right? If you Google my name, you will see my LinkedIn, you'll see my posts. That right there is trust building. If you were my employee or all of my employees, I would insist you build your personal brands. Why? Because you are a direct representation of the company and its brand and its success. You should be on LinkedIn.
Everybody should be on LinkedIn. Can you tell we're obsessed? We might be a little obsessed, but it's a good place. You should definitely. I feel like even though I waste time on LinkedIn, I'm there a lot. I'm probably not there quite as much as you, but I probably am. But it's not like your TikTok or your Instagram or even your Facebook. It's not your X. It's not the same. You're learning while you're networking and growing. I want you to tell everybody how to get a hold of you and where to find all of your wonderfulness, and anybody who's interested in Brand Belt, how to get a hold of Darren about that as well.
Okay, it's really simple. You know the answer. LinkedIn.
LinkedIn.
That's it.
You'll find him. I'm pretty sure he's the only Darren Mass on there.
Who knows? But I'm definitely the most active.
You'll be able to find him.
Yeah, you'll see me. I wear these silly, goofy hats.
Yep, that's really easy. Check his stuff out on LinkedIn. Go and shoot him a DM if you're interested in Brand Belt, and he'll have a conversation with you. But that's all the time we have for today. Thank you, Darren, so much. This has been awesome. Remember, guys, technology is only good when it works. We will see you next week. Bye.